What's up, everyone? It is June 2nd, and these are my video game pickups for the month of May 2018. Um, it was a pretty interesting month, May. A lot of conventions. It's actually the end of my convention season until I'm pretty much done. There was Anime Central or ASIN, which was down in Rosemont, Illinois. I went with MegaMat21. He's actually done a video of his pickups as well. If you're interested, go check out his video. He picked up some interesting stuff from there. Normally at anime conventions, there isn't a whole lot of video game resellers or stores. Usually there's one, maybe another vendor who might have a couple games laying around that he's just trying to get rid of. This year, though, there seemed to be quite a bit of them. Just about towards the end of the vendors hall, there was at least 3 or 4 different vendors. There was actually a really big one that was full of imports. Unfortunately, the prices were still a little high for me. They were more related to eBay prices than they were like compared to most of the other stores. There were some deals you could do. I mean, at least it's nice that with some of those dealers you can kind of haggle still. So there's a couple of those. If you bundle deals and whatever else, usually they'll give you a discount. Or even if you just inquire and say, hey, would you take, $3 less or $5 less? Sometimes they may bite. Um, with that said, I'll just kind of go into those, which wasn't too many. I was kind of on a budget for that day, just simply because of I knew it was going to be expensive. Conventions itself are expensive, whether you're just paying for your ticket to get in, food itself, or anything else you happen to do. So it's like my spending amount is pretty on the small side, but I did manage one guy. I'm a sucker for imports lately. That's pretty much what I've got. One is for the Dreamcast, and I'm always hunting for really oddball or really cool import Dreamcast games just to add. And this one is Poppin' Music 2. If you know where Poppin' Music is a rhythm game, they do have one of the vendors did have a control pad, as you kind of see here. It's the big bubbles and everything. For the Dreamcast, of course, they were asking almost $90 for it, so I kind of had to pass at that point in time. I'm not sure how this plays with a regular controller yet. I haven't had a chance to really pop it in and play, but this one in particular, I mean, it does have the spine card included. There's a disc. I'm actually looking forward to trying this one. I believe there's maybe 2 Poppin' Music games for the Dreamcast. I'm not entirely sure. I really don't come across these too often, so I can't be positive, and I haven't really done a lot of research on the Japanese collection for the Dreamcast. It's something I'm just slowly kind of getting into and just doing on the side. With that store I mentioned earlier that had a bunch of imports, they had Vita games, PlayStation games, N64. I mean, it was all Japanese, basically. There were no American games, and it was a store out of Florida. I did grab the business card, but I don't have it in front of me to really know what the name of the store actually is. But as far as I know, they have a storefront in Florida, which is pretty awesome for imports like that. I'm sorry, my phone keeps going off. It's probably Matt actually texting me, and yeah, it is. But one thing that I had on my hit list was particular fighting games for the Sega Saturn, mostly imports. This is actually based off of an anime. It's called Advanced VG. And it's basically, it's a really off-the-wall concept. It's waitresses or restaurant owners that are all female. It's an all-female cast. You won't find any male fighters in this one. And basically, the winner of the tournament will get all the money in there to fulfill their dreams of owning their own business, if that's the sort of thing they wish for. Variable Neo Geo, or Variable Geo, I think is the name of the anime, which starts the character here on the front cover. If you can find it, it's a very strange, almost ecchi type anime. When the girls lose, they do lose their clothing, and they are punished, in a sense. This was released on the PlayStation. It was kind of toned down. The Saturn version is a little more fluid, in my opinion. There are videos you can watch to see the difference between the two. And it does include some of the more uncensored, ecchi type scenes that aren't in the PlayStation version. And I haven't had a chance to really pop this in. I'll probably do some gameplay of it at some point on my YouTube channel or Twitch. if you're interested in seeing that. But it does have full animation on the backside. You can kind of see some of the screen captures there. It's not one of the best fighters in the world, but it's just kind of entertaining. It's a higher priced fighting game. I think this one normally goes for anywhere between $50 to $80 that I've seen it go for. I managed to grab it at a lower price. Next we have some limited run games. They're still coming. We got an interesting visual novel, Nurses Love Addiction. This is one of my friends, Kira, actually had said that she played this last summer. She downloaded it. It's a very twisted visual novel. There's multiple endings. Some of them are very... It starts off like an everyday slice of life type thing of nurses, and there's some interesting twists as you go along depending on the endings you get. She honestly said she did not care for it, but it's kind of a more expensive visual novel. I mean, this one was, I think, Limited Run was selling it for nearly like $50, which is really high for some of the releases. So I'm not too sure. It is rated M for blood, sexual content, and violence. So it kind of leaves me to question exactly what it is. She didn't want to. Kira didn't want to spoil it for me. So we'll see. I don't know what I'm going to be. I'll have time to jump into that. There's a lot of visual novels to get through. And here's the collector card, which is just simply the front cover of the game itself. And of course, with that, we got Oregon Trail, the complete edition on the Vita. I don't really know too much about this. I keep thinking of Oregon Trail, which is pretty much sort of in the same vein. This is about the survival horror of zombies type thing. Not really particularly a game up my alley, but, you know, for the Vita collection, of course. And this is the collector card that I got with it. Both cards are common, or considered common anyway, on Limited Run's documentation they have for their list of trading cards. I also ended up, out of whim, grabbed Sir Eats a Lot, the collector's edition from Play Asia. This is one that will not be coming to the West unless Limited Run, for whatever reason, decides to do their own version of it. Between Play Asian and Limited Run, it's kind of strange. It's like, there's times where Limited Run will do release, and then Play Asia will do their own, or Play Asia will happen to get their version, and the Limited Runs will do a release much later. But this one I don't really foresee. This is in full English on the backside and everything. You can actually read there. So this is actually number 544. I think there's only like 3,000 copies of this actually produced. But it looks kind of interesting. I mean, at first I wasn't really kind of into it. Then I'm like, maybe I will. A little bit of a spoiler for the coming month. I did do the same thing for Reverie, which is a... it's very much inspired by the graphics of Earthbound and Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. So that'll be kind of interesting. That one I'm going to kind of give it a try. It's more of an RPG. We'll see how that goes. And the last for the Vita for this month, of course, is Access's Games' second out of the trilogy that they're releasing of their last games. And also one of the last retail games that you're going to find at GameStop, Best Buy, etc. At normal stores. And that is Seven Scarlet. Kind of an interesting one. I don't know too much about these. Again, it's just another visual novel in the trilogy itself. It is PSTV compatible, which is kind of nice if you want it on the big screen. But we'll see how that goes. And then we have a PlayStation 4 release. And I've been kind of on a kick lately because Atlas and Sega have been releasing these steelbook cases. And between Valkyrie Chronicles, the Yakuza games, Persona 5, and then the newest release that came out last month, Dragon's Crown Pro. I do have this on the Vita. It's a very good RPG game in the vein of Guardian Heroes that was on the Saturn by Vanillaware. I really enjoy the art on this. It's very exaggerated, especially when it comes to the female designs, but I really enjoyed the game. I did play through on the Vita. I played as the Archer. I'm probably going to pop this in on my PlayStation 4 and play through again, probably as a different character class, maybe the Knight or the Wizard. But again, it has a steel case, and I believe it comes with some collector cards in this. But I kind of wanted it, again, I don't know what it is about these steel case books, but they're really pretty, and they look nice, especially with when you have them lined up with the Yakuza games and the Persona 4, and it's kind of my own little Atlas Sega type thing going on, and I'm a sucker for Sega stuff. Speaking of which, I love compilation collections. Simply because it's the ability to have all those games on one single disc. You don't have to get up, change cartridges, change discs. And lately it's made me kind of go through and look at my collection, and especially with the Sega compilations, they're usually the same games, and sometimes I'll change them up and add some other ones. The last one on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, which was the Sega Sonic Genesis collection, had a really good set of games, but of course you're always going to find like your Sonic 1, 2, and 3s, the Shinobi games, Echo the Dolphin, E-SWAT's usually always on there, the Phantasy Star games, and so forth. And having those, I haven't really had a need to go back and try to get the cartridge versions of those games. But I did realize, kind of poking through my collection, it's like I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm running out of room, and I want to kind of start cleaning things up a little bit and kind of slimming down into more of a quality versus quantity as far as games go. And many people might be like, "Oh my God, he's getting rid of his games," and it's like, yeah, I am, but for the most part, the games I'm getting rid of are stuff that either I haven't touched in years, I have no personal connection to, they weren't really part of my childhood growing up, as far as like the Genesis games and all that, or they may be games that I have that are newer and upgraded for newer systems. Especially, it's like, yeah, there's some concerns going forward, like you have to worry about disk rot. You have to make sure you maintain your games, you're keeping them in fair conditioned rooms, and they're not, moisture isn't going to get to them, it's not too hot, too cold. They're protected in their cases, they're not laying around getting scratched. But it's like looking at that, it's kind of going through and weeding those out, because it's like some of those games, especially with the Genesis and stuff, they're starting to climb up in price, and really they don't mean much for me. So it's like I might as well get rid of them, make some extra cash, and clear out some room that I have, especially since my Vita collection is growing and I plan on keeping that. And if I keep continuing to grow the Dreamcast collection as well, or the Saturn games, or whatever else that I'm really more interested in, and I can't get those games anywhere else because they've never been re-released, or they're games that I really enjoy, it's those type of things. Just kind of get rid of the games I'm not going to play, I don't have a real wow factor of why I really enjoy this game, it's given me a lot of time onto it, and I want to keep that. That sort of thing. But I guess this last game is, of course, the Sega Genesis Collections. And I mentioned, this one does not have the Echo the Dolphin series on it. It is missing some other ones that were in the previous collection, but at the same time, it's added like Gunstar Heroes and some of the Treasure games. So that's really cool. And that's kind of what's been driving me. Like, it's got Vector Man 1 and 2 on it. I'm actually thinking of getting rid of my Vector Man cartridges, as well as Shinobi games. That type of thing. Because if I have it digitally on another system that's newer and it looks a little bit better, why not, And the emulation's not too bad on this. It works fairly well. I haven't tried the online aspect. I did do a stream of opening this and playing it for the first time on YouTube not too long ago. That video is still out there if you want to go take a look, and if you're bored enough to watch me run through it and kind of babble while I was messing around with the menu, but yeah, so I guess that's it for my rant. I'm done. I'm going on for a little while, but so yeah, if you guys picked up any games, let me know. Maybe I'll see you around YouTube when I do some extra streaming. Otherwise, I will be around Twitch every now and then. Scotty from Sega Addicts and I are trying to work out a night where we can get together and kind of play some Streets of Rage online. It's something we've been wanting to do. We've tried it in the past and it hasn't worked, so we'll see if we get to work this time. But that's it for now, guys. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.